Hey, it's Soul. It is October 28th, 2018, 1 week before BlizzCon. This is Warcraft Weekly, and today's episode is brought to you by Andrew, Ara, Benji, Callum, DBT, Jesse, Kylan, Mark, Ray, and Steven. It's thanks to their help that I can get 4 shots of espresso instead of just 2. Thanks, guys. Today, Bob is emblazoned on my chest. What have I become? You've become product placement. Product placement. So this is my life now. We have a show. We have a normal show for you today. Just keep in mind that next week, I am not going to have a Warcraft Weekly because I'm going to be off at BlizzCon doing stuff, but I'm going to recap everything that's been going down, and hopefully I'll have some special videos to show you folks for fun. So let's get right to it. So Brian Halinka, the former lead PvP designer for the World of Warcraft, he had left to do another project internally with Blizzard, but only after about a year, he's back. He's now going to be the lead combat designer, which sounds like a very broad position or a broad team that takes care of all the aspects of combat for each of the classes and specs, as well as PvP. So that means Halinka and his team are going to have a great dominion over a lot of these class philosophies that we're seeing in the current Battle for Azeroth today. And that includes things like class debuffs, the current iteration or the current intentions of the global cooldown, and more. But don't be surprised if you see a certain PvP island suddenly rise from the depths and become something to do once again. The classic WoW demo client is now making itself available to purchasers of the BlizzCon ticket or the virtual ticket. So far from the data mining, because of course you expected data mining, but there are a number of changes and enhancements that were entirely expected. We're talking about anti-cheat systems, the abandoning of the 32 in favor of a 64-bit client, integration with BattleNet chat, as well as things like the authenticator, things like that. The demo, for the most part, has people pretty excited, whether they're going to be diving into the game itself or the demo itself, or if they're going to be observing from the forums and MMO Champion or Wowhead. What risks spoiling the excitement of the demo is the announcement that this is going to be a timed demo, whether you're on the show floor or whether you're at home or on the toilet. Right? Recent screenshots reveal that there are only going to be 20 realms that are available, although we don't know for sure whether this is for the floor demo or if this is going to be for the clients. This could change at any time. But like I said, it's going to be a timed demo. You're only going to be able to play for so long, and keep in mind the experience is limited to 2 zones, the Barrens, as well as, Westfall, there we go. And you start from level 15 to 19, and that's it. When your demo time expires, and we don't know how long you'll be able to play until it expires, and we don't know how long you have to wait either, this gives you that old school feeling, back in the day when you go to those video game stores and you see those big demo machines, and you're like, oh man, I really want to play Mario 64, so you hop on. You play for a little while, and then after about 5 or so minutes, boop, the whole thing resets and it goes back to the beginning, and the punks behind you are like, dude, I want to play, man. And you're like, man, no, man, it's my turn. I only got this far, and that's kind of how it's going to go. So I get that there's demand, but I just question whether or not the Blizzard should be beholden to supply as many realms as needed to support this demo. But you know what? I have a conspiracy theory. Imagine situations like you're a streamer. You want to be able to stream for your audience the classic WoW demo, but you only have so much time that you're able to play. How do you get around that? The only thing I can think of is to have multiple BattleNet accounts and to buy multiple virtual tickets, so that way you have a bunch of extra, you basically have alts that you can switch to, so that way you can keep playing the demo over and over again. All you have to do is get as many accounts as you need to make it look like you have constant uptime, and then boom, you're gonna get all that damn Twitch traffic. So that's it. Is Activision up to their old shit? Those fiends, how dare they take advantage of our nostalgia? No, it's not going to happen. I don't think reasonable people are going to do that. I suspect, though, that there is some sort of control mechanism that will allow Blizzard to increase the demo play time or shorten the cooldown that people will be able to get on, but they need to have something like this. There's only so many demo stations available, or there's only so many realms available, and you don't want to spoil the experience with having so many people on realm, and you can't get anything done because people are like mob tagging or something like that. It'd be kind of ironic if Blizzard used sharding to control this, but they they can't, or they better not. So this is what we've got. Moving along, I'm going to get into some of this patch stuff first, because there's some pretty things to look at. So let's lightning around this stuff real quick. I kind of dig the darker and muted look of this gear. It is a little off-putting because when you think of Zuldazar, you think of like the really bright colors of the normal soldiers and the guards that you see around there. But in this case, you have a real strong taste of Old One Samdi in here. I wondered to myself if this tier is unfinished, because I definitely look at the male one and it just looks a lot emptier than the other sets. Like, really, look at how much more complete the other sets look as opposed to the male set. For me personally, I always look at transmog as an a la carte sort of thing, so I do like the way that the leg plates look because it has a very muted look, and I can probably mesh that in with other pieces to create a more slimmer, streamlined look, because that's what I usually go for. At the moment, though, I'm going for weird, bulky looks too, so if I somehow manage to get like mythic shoulders, then it'll be a cool thing to sport on like a Conan the Barbarian looking sets. I don't know. But now let's take a look at the new Darkshore Warfront sets that are going to be available. And from the looks of it, at least so far, we only have a single stage. We're not going to see like how it was before with the Arathi set, where you had a more muted version and then a crazier looking giant shoulder, way too many spikes version. Looking at it broadly, I enjoy the looks of all these pieces, although with regards to the Night Elf one, it's the colors kind of throw me off a little bit. The colors have too bit of an obvious Stormwind/Alliance sort of feel as opposed to just a Night Elf feel. By contrast, the Horde, the Forsaken armor, really speaks to the race itself. The darker tones with those little bits of fell green scattered about, they really speak to it. As for whether or not I'm going to use them on my paladin, I don't know. It looks good, but the colors just don't. Yeah, I'm not too sure about the colors. I'm going to have to mess around with it, just like any of these other transmog sets. There are a lot of other parts of this build, of course, with class changes, additional items and mounts and all that sort of stuff. Going to the story part of things, there were a number of small but pretty significant updates. I'm not really going to get into the spoilers, but if you already are spoiled, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. On the Darkshore scenario for both the Horde and Alliance, but more so the Alliance, there were some small modifications made to Tyrande as well as the final encounter there that help it make a little bit more sense. In this case, we're talking about Tyrande's power upgrade or change. Critics weren't too happy that even with her model change, the power boost or the power gain from that wasn't quite as great. I mean, it's not like the model change was that big. It's not like Xavius when he went from Night Elf to a Satyr to whatever he is, but at the very least, players are more forgiving of this scenario given in light of these changes. The Saurfang scenario also had a bit of a change, but this I think is much bigger. I covered this in a very spoiler-filled video that I did earlier this week, but the only change that was made is that upon picking up a quest, or before you pick up a quest, you have the option to not do this quest, and instead you would do something else. For context, at the end of this Saurfang scenario, there's going to be a fateful encounter that critics did not want to be a part of. Maybe they didn't want to go that route. Maybe they wanted to take one side or the other. Or they want to go on a vacation. The change enables you, the Horde champion, to not participate in this fateful encounter altogether. But keep in mind that this encounter occurs regardless. It's just going to occur off screen for you. The lesson learned here is that even if the overall story of the World of Warcraft cannot necessarily be changed, because we're all playing the game pretty much the same way, it's the details, the stuff that happens between that are a bit more malleable. There are conversations going around that this is a direct response to some of the criticism, while there are others, and I'm kind of leaning toward this opinion, that maybe this is something that Blizzard was just going to put in anyway, but then this is just kind of the polish that they're putting in. For example, the changes to that Darkshore scenario, maybe that is a bit of a response to criticism, because I don't think those changes are very big. As for the Saurfang scenario, I think that there are easier ways to make this happen without making an entire diverging quest line, even if it's just a small divergence. I don't expect an entire campaign of, yes, you must choose this, because then players will feel obligated to have another tune just so they can play that side of the story differently. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this was a deliberate thing. This was intended to happen. It just wasn't implemented yet. But what do you folks think? Do you think that this was a response to the criticism? Because if it is, I think that's a cool thing too, that Blizzard is listening and responding in pretty effective ways. Moving on, we now have a name of the currency that's going to be used in the patch 8.1. It's called Azerite Impurity, or AI. That's
lame.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb. Like, do we call it AI? Do we call it impurity? Impurity. That's too many syllables. I'll go with AI. Ugh. As you probably already know, the Tides of Vengeance patch is going to introduce a new vendor that's going to use this AI. You trade it in and you get gear from the dungeon pool. We still don't know the values of what happens when you disenchant or scrap Azerite gear in 8.1, and we don't know how much of this AI stuff that you get when you complete your Mythic 10s. But we do have the vendor, and that has values, so we're going to take a quick look and speculate, but keep in mind that this is the PTR and these particular values might change, or the understanding of these values might be altered based on how much Azerite impurity stuff we get from disenchanting or from the Mythic chest. All right, take a look at the screenshot over here. We have 3 levels of stuff. We have the normal, heroic, and mythic level gear. And this is relative to the 8.1 or the Battle for Dazar Allure, the Boda raid. The cheap stuff, $125. Heroic level stuff, 400, or otherwise 3 times the effort of the normal stuff. Meanwhile, the mythic stuff is 3 times the value of the heroic stuff, or otherwise 10 times the value of the normal stuff. And finally, you can see down there in the bottom right hand corner is a piece that you can buy a la carte. That's going to cost 3 times as much as the mythic random tokens. And that's important to point out. The 125, the 400, the 1250s, those will get you a random piece from the dungeon pool. So even without knowing the value of scrapping or the mythic chest, I can at least plan what my behavior is going to be with how I'm going to approach these items. As a disgusting and godless casual, I'm probably going to go a route of buying the 1250 random pieces for each of the slots of gear that I have. So for the head, the shoulders, and the chest, because yeah, from a straight through perspective, I think that boosting myself by getting mythic level Azerite gear is a bit more valuable time-wise than to go for these a la carte pieces. Because on top of being a dirty casual, I also do heroic raiding on my own time. Like for example, I will probably maybe get Gahoon down either next week before BlizzCon or the week after. So well before that time, I fully expect myself to probably farm Mythic Plus a little bit harder than normal, as in I'll actually do it, and I'm just going to hope for the best. I would rather participate in the quote slot machine than the quote vending machine for the values that we're seeing here right now. Now, of course, these can change, and if they do, then so might my behavior. There are a couple of other small changes and hotfixes that have been coming in. You might have noticed the increase in Conquest reward that's been coming in, as well as the increase to emissary rewards whenever you turn that stuff in, and all the extra gold and Azerite that you obtain. There's also going to be an additional commendation vendor, and presumably these commendations are going to come from completing Warfronts. If that's the case, I believe that to be a pretty good thing, as opposed to just farming Warfronts over and over for the sake of just transmog or catch up, or in the case of AI, just to try to get Azerite armor that you would otherwise scrap. It makes me think that in some ways 8.1 or otherwise the timing of the content that's all going to come out, it's really starting to get the Battle for Azeroth expansion to really come together and flesh out to be something that's more enjoyable for those who have been providing criticism of it. The more cynical perspective, of course, is being projected, saying, oh, well, finally, now the real expansion is coming out. That this is exactly why the expansion should have been delayed for XYZ reasons. And to that, I kind of disagree with certain components of it. Certain things are just busted. Bugs happen that really shouldn't have. I get that. When it comes to other things that are coming, like this commendation vendor, like the Paragon, the Paragon stuff that's coming, I think that those are features that don't necessarily need to come at the very beginning of an expansion, because otherwise it risks front loading too much and and encouraging endless grinding for the sake of getting these commendations, these Paragon chests. There's a time and place for some of these things, and they still need to be balanced out because these things, they should last for a good chunk of the expansion, or they should take a good chunk of a player's time over the course of an expansion. By putting everything all the way up front, then you just, you grind really hard, but then you run out of things to do, and then what? Because Blizzard has nothing planned. This isn't exactly me agreeing with the kind of design schedule that they have. I mean, it'd be great for us to just have more and more and more to do all the time forever and ever and ever. Unfortunately, this is the reality of development, and with regards to all these different components, it feels like Blizzard has to pick and choose when to deploy these certain things so that way players have something to entertain themselves with. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, folks at home and elsewhere. Do you think that Blizzard should be beholden to keep putting in these systems of grindable content all the time, and otherwise make it feel like there's not exactly no end because these are currency-based rewards, but should they keep giving these carrots on sticks? So let's move on to the final topic. BlizzCon 2018, it's coming! Chicken and waffles and good times are coming. We finally have our band for the closing. No, we have our bands for the closing ceremony. We have Lindsey Sterling, the dancing violin girl who took up a lot of the time when I'm doing my commutes from here to work back in the day. Well, it was her and Tank Spot videos. Over on the EDM side is Kristian. We have Hodor and we have Train, who I know of from one song because that song was covered by Taylor Swift in some YouTube video, whatever. The reactions from fans have been pretty much a copy-paste of every previous year of BlizzCon whenever the band was announced. They love the band. They hate the band. Gosh, Blizzard must have been really desperate to get these people. Every year the quality of the band goes down. Did I cover everything? How about hey, I'll catch one set and then I'm gonna go back to get chicken and waffles? Yes, I do think it's pretty darn cool and a terrific fire hazard that all three of these bands are going to be playing almost simultaneously. They're going to start about 15 or so minutes apart. But if anything, this underlines choice. We can choose which thing we want to go to, or of course, we can choose neither. Having more variety is good, and remember, BlizzCon isn't just about the World of Warcraft fans, even though the other fans don't matter as much. Okay, yeah, they do. We're such a big and diverse group when it comes to age and race and playstyle and genre enjoyment that I just think that this is a really exciting BlizzCon that I'm really, really looking forward to. So this is it, folks. This is BlizzCon. This is the first time that I'm going to be going as a media person. So there's going to be like expectations. So for those of you who are going, I would love to see you because I plan on doing like short interviews with BlizzCon attendees. I'm going to try to find people and hopefully I won't come off as too much of a creeper. I'm probably going to be wearing this shirt as I'm doing it, but I'm going to be going up to people and I'm going to do very short interviews like, who are you? What brings you here? Is this your first time at BlizzCon? Is there anything that super wowed you? Any cool sites or people that you've met? The goal is to just get a bunch of folks to talk and get kind of a snapshot of the BlizzCon experience. It's one thing to get the virtual tickets and take a look at the panels and the concerts and get all the news on MMO Champion and Wowhead. It's another thing, though, to be surrounded by like-minded people like you that love these games. My hopes are that I can get just a little slice of that and share it with all of you. But yeah, I have most of the stuff ready. I have shirts for myself and the guild because I'm going to be like, changing in and out here and there. I would love to meet other content creators. Last time I didn't do a very good job of it, as in I didn't really try, but I'm going to try harder this time, promise. I'll see if I can meet anyone, and if they happen to see me too, sweet! So next week I'm going to obviously be lighter on the video content, but I'm going to try to have some stuff prepared that I can put out maybe on Thursday, maybe Friday, or whenever I can get that out. But stay tuned, right here I do stuff, I do videos, so like this one, and subscribe to the channel so I can keep giving you more of this and all things Warcraft. Or you can support the channel as a direct patron like some of the folks that I mentioned earlier. Or you can buy some swag stuff. You can check out the link below and check out the store. He makes almost no money off of what he sells. That's right. So I'll see you next week over here on YouTube, over on Twitch, or maybe on the BlizzCon floor. You all have a good one, and until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.